Hello, everybody. Derek Seagraves here. I wanted to take some time out of our busy Monday to express my thanks to our interns and also share how we as a church used our interns to the biggest advantage, I feel like, the biggest advantage that we could. Things that we learned that we're going to adopt in the future, but a lot of people have expressed an interest in how we were directing our interns, how we made them a part of the church, even for a short while. They were here for 10 weeks. And so I thought I'd sit down from a busy day of getting ready for our next interns, a family that's coming up from Tennessee. Get ready for our next interns is what we're doing today. Wanted to take a break, sit down a little bit, talk to you about how our philosophy behind having interns. And so the thing I always think that you need to start with is why. Why should a church have interns? Why should a intern come to your church? Starting first from the church standpoint, because that's where I am, that's the side I'm on, is I've been an intern before at other churches, but starting with why, from the church standpoint, you might need a influx of younger energy. If you're a church that has maybe a older congregation, that's not our case, but if that's your case, that might be a good reason to have interns, is to inject some younger people and some younger energies, some younger ideas, things like that. Another good reason is if you have projects that could use some helpers. So we had a Jesus Day Camp. A lot of people would call it a VBS. We had a Jesus Day Camp planned, and we could use some young, energetic helpers. Other reasons would include that you have projects around. I know people have used interns for building projects. People have used interns for outreach emphasis. You know, if you're doing a lot of outreach for the summer, which we did a parade, we did some door knocking, things like that. And then also if they can bring skills that you don't have in your church. So maybe you're a church plant and you don't have a whole lot of music. You might bring in an intern that's skilled with a keyboard and leading worship so that you can have some worship for that period and kind of give your church a taste, build the vision a little bit. That's another good reason, is to build the vision of the church, give them a taste of what it's like to have a couple more hands on deck. Build the vision of what's possible. Maybe others would look at them and say, well, I could do what they're doing, you know, and so they would pick it up after the interns leave or something like that. That's a good thing. It's a real good thing. What they did for our church is they were really just trainable. They're really just teachable. And so I taught them how to do promotions for our church, the way I wanted promotions done, and gave them a camera and some video editing software and encouraged them to make videos. And they made some wonderful promotional videos for us that got a lot of traction. One of them being our video advertisement. So that's from the church standpoint. Why should you as a church bring in a volunteer? Because it does take energy to direct their energies. It does take time. It certainly takes some investment, although we were really blessed by our district to have these interns sponsored, which is a big deal. Now, from the intern standpoint, I've been an intern in the past. Why should an intern come to your church? Well, hopefully you have opportunities in your church for them to minister, especially in new ways. Hopefully there's some opportunities in your church for them to minister, to develop, to put into practice what it is they've been learning. If they're coming from a Bible school, they've been learning some stuff, give them a chance to practice it. Maybe they've been learning how to preach, give them some preaching time. They've been learning how to lead worship, give them some worship to lead, things like that. So certainly that. Something to do for the summer where they're going to be used. You know, they're coming from a really high activity place if they're a Bible college student or a college student. If they're a student, they're coming from a high activity place, and sometimes going home for the summer is a really boring perspective or option. And so there's that. What our district did for us, and this was a great motivator for our interns to come, is that they sponsored their down payment going back to Bible college. So these were Bible college interns that came, and our district paid through an offering that our district took up for their down payment, which I'm not exactly sure, I think is $2,500 per intern. We had 2 interns going back to school, so their down payment's ready, and then they can work a job or something like that and make payments for the rest of their school bill, which Bible school's so inexpensive that's just such a good deal. That's a great motivator. So those are some reasons why an intern would want to come to your church, that you have ministry opportunities. Maybe your church is doing something in ministry that they want to learn. They want to take on into the future, take home to their home church when they return from Bible school. Maybe you've got a unique ministry. Maybe you're in prison ministry or nursing home ministry, or you're really good at promotion, things like that, and they would want to learn from you in your church and kind of gather that together from osmosis, or from being around and being trained in it. So that's why, and we had our reasons. Our reasons were we wanted some more hands on deck, wanted to grow the vision of the church, having 2 more helpers around all the time. We had some things planned that we certainly could put them to work in, and then they had their reasons for coming. The way to get them is to contact your Bible schools. Most definitely, it's probably the best way to get interns. You're only going to have certain breaks that you can get an intern from. So I know Indiana Bible College sends out interns during their spring break as well as their summer break, and then all the Bible college students, there's an opportunity for summer interns. It's not always easy. It's not like a formalized process in any of the Bible schools that I know of. You usually go through the campus pastor. Of course, their pastor needs to be contacted, and then of course there has to be an interest in the intern themselves to be coming to your church or your state or whatever. We're really blessed to be in Alaska. I mean, everybody wants to come here, and so that's pretty awesome. I think we're going to have an easy time in the future. That's an added bonus, and maybe you should do that. Look around your church. What's some things around you? Do you have a theme park nearby you? Something unique? A really awesome ministry opportunity, like maybe an Indian reservation or an inner city, things like that, where somebody could say, I feel called to that kind of ministry, and so I'm going to go intern here and get some experience there. What do you have around your church? Not just in your church, but around your church. We have adventure. We have Alaska. And so that's another reason for somebody to come to our church. But that's how we got them, was through Bible college. And I didn't even have to go looking for the interns. I'm really blessed. In our district, the NAM director, Jim Blackshear, took up an offering, and then he applied that offering by setting up an internship program where the NAM department would sponsor interns from CLC to come up to our state. And that's really kind of lit a fire under everybody in a good sense, that it's opened our district's eyes to, hey, interns are possible. So now even interns from other Bible colleges are coming, and that's a good thing. So that's how I would go through the campus, go through the college. It's the impetus is going to be on you. It's not their job to find internships for these kids or find you an intern, and so you're going to have to stay on top of it. You're going to have to do the communication, things like that. That's the best place to find interns, because that's where the young people who are going to be free for the summer and are interested in ministry are going to be found. So I wouldn't try and reinvent the wheel. I'd do it from a college, and I'd let them know what you have to offer, and monetarily, housing situation, in your church, around your church, what they would be doing. Kind of make up a proposal, send it out there. That way they know what kind of people you want applying for your internship, and that way the intern knows what they're getting into. Of course, always keep your commitments to those that you're doing an internship with. You really should have like an agreement package put together. So we're really blessed at our church to have a parsonage that my family lived in. The four of us lived in for a year before when we came to replant this church, and so we kept that as a parsonage. And up until now, we've been using it to house evangelists and other ministers. But we used it this summer for our two interns who were amazing. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you what it is, just off the top of my head, what it is that they did. They did some extraordinary things. They really raised the bar. Brother Fowler said that. They really raised the bar on future interns. Unfortunately, they've got a high standard to hold in the future. But your arrangement that you should be offering should include housing. It should include whatever compensation you're going to give them, be that a down payment for their school or a weekly stipend or just a chunk of money. But it should be a definite amount, not just like we're going to take an offering for you at the end of the summer. Give them a definite amount. Make it easy for them. Make it easy for them to say yes. How are they going to live? What are they going to get out of it? What are you offering as far as ministry opportunities? And then food and transportation is a big one. We have a church van that just kept breaking down on us this summer. I wanted them to use the church van all summer, and they wound up only using it like 4 weeks out of the 10 weeks because it kept breaking down on us. But that's the way it goes, and thankfully they were blessed I was able to, with my schedule, give them rides whenever they needed a ride and such. And they had friends around. So that should be the parts of your agreement. And then a big thing is like, we get an intern. What are we going to do with them? How do we organize the work? And that's maybe the biggest value that I think I could provide through this video, is how to organize the work, because we I've been studying leadership forever. And I've been organizing my own life forever, working for myself. And so I didn't stumble onto this. That's a misnomer. I have a system of organizing work that translated really well to leading interns. So interns need a little bit of flexibility, especially if they're going to be getting jobs. That should be part of your agreement, whether they're going to get jobs or not. I want our interns to get jobs because I feel like that's more true to their experience after Bible school. So they're going to get out of Bible school, go into a ministry, but that ministry almost never is going to be a full-time ministry. And so they're going to have to work, or they're going to have to balance work and ministry. Might as well do that in the internship. And since we're covering housing, food, transportation, might as well go home flush with cash, because you worked all summer and you didn't have to spend any money. And so you go home maybe with your whole school bill paid. That's a possibility. So I like our interns to work. I don't feel like I need to dominate their time all of the time. And the understanding is when they're not working, they're working for the church. And so um, the way you schedule work, the way you communicate what labors you want them to do, what kind of ministry you want them to do, should be able to be a little bit flexible. And so what I did was I just wrote out a whole honey-do list, just everything, just a wish list, everything I wish would get done, everything from organizing the kitchen and our storage areas to producing a video advertisement for us we could put on Facebook, to doing a weekly promotion of the service, to being a part of our day camp. I mean, just everything, outreach, weekly outreach, Bible studies, taking video testimonies. Just they did all of that stuff, by the way, just incredible. So I made just a huge honey-do list, just kind of vomited on the page everything I wish that they could get done. Some of those things, and then you prioritize them and you inform them. So then, next to those, you write how long you think each of those things is going to take. If it's a recurring item, like a weekly Sunday recap video, then, write in there weekly on Monday or weekly Sunday night. If it is a high priority thing, you write high priority, do this first. If it's something that needs to happen early, maybe at the beginning of summer, we had some things that needed to happen at the beginning of summer, and then of course our Jesus Day Camp didn't start until the end of summer, so you write that in there. And so you inform all these things, because then after you've put everything on a page and informed on them, then you put them onto a calendar. And I'm not just talking about a monthly grid calendar. What we did was we did a column for each of the 10 weeks on a whiteboard. And so we just did week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And then in those weeks, we had, early week, late week. And we put everything in there. And the repeating tasks just got repeated. Early in the week, maybe later in the week, I don't know. And we scheduled out all that work. And they crushed it. I mean, they really got it done to where even though they took 2 weeks off this summer, so they really were only with our church 8 weeks, took 2 weeks off to go to youth camp and family camp, they still did everything I asked them to do. Everything on the list got done, and really there was maybe a week before day camp where they were kind of just thumbing around, just what are we going to do? And a busy summer for sure for them, but they crushed it. And supporting them, as a leader, you've got to support people. Communication is the responsibility of the communicator. Leadership is, everything rises and falls on leadership. And so if you're not leading well, you can't expect them to do well. That's just unfair. And so to communicate well, I wrote everything that I wanted it done, gave them all the information I could. They were allowed, of course, allowed to call me if there was any information I forgot or anything that they needed, and materials or supplies, things like that. They had a weekly stipend for food from us. And that's how we scheduled it. Here's your 10 weeks. And now we have, later today, I'm picking up our next interns. Praise God. We were praying for more ministers. We were praying for more opportunities. We were praying that God would provide. I've been praying for a handyman, and now Gabriel says he's been experienced as a handyman. Praise God for that. And so, these interns coming here are coming for 12 to 24 months. And they have their own goals, their own reasons for coming and such. And because this is a longer internship, I'm thinking of doing the same thing, so wish list, and then apply it to a quarter, so 12 weeks. Almost the same as this 10 week that we just did with our interns. 12 weeks, that's a quarter, 3 months. And, 12. 4 and 3. And there we go. We'll schedule it out, and then at the end of that, we'll schedule out the next one, and we'll just keep marching forward. And it's going to be different because they have kids and they're a family, but and they're going to have jobs and such as that. It's going to be a little different, but we're going to work around it, and that's flexible. So in that week, you have your work for the week, and wherever you can fit it in. If it's before work, after work, maybe double up a few things on the same day that you have the day off, things like that. And so one thing I would put on the schedule, one thing that we didn't do that we should have done, and I learned from this, is you need to, in that honey-do list, in that big list, you need to put fun. You need to schedule some fun for your interns to do. They did have some fun. They had friends in this area that picked them up and took them places. We took them some places. They did have some fun. They got to see some of Alaska, yes. Members of our church took them different places. That's great. But you need to schedule in the fun. What do you want them to see of your church or of your city, of your state, things like that? What do you want to do? What are some things they could do? And put that in, schedule that in, so that you're making sure that they're also engaged and entertained and not just being burned out. And so that's something I wish we would have done, and that we can do now. And that's it. That's it. We want more interns. We certainly do. Our vision for these interns that are coming tonight, the Vest family, are to invest in them, develop them in their ministry. He wants to become a pilot. I believe we have avenues to make that happen. And we're going to invest in them, give them opportunity, give them instruction and study resources and such as that, develop them as best we can, but also as they work, I really do want to see them work into a lifestyle of ministry where they have a job and they move out of the parsonage, because it's not the most convenient place to live. Move out of the parsonage into a place they can be proud of, and they can be a ministering family in the church until the end of their internship. And then they're free to do what they would if they want to go back to Tennessee or whatever. And so really excited for this period, and we want more interns. And so this coming summer, I expect to receive more interns. I want more interns to come up. I believe we're doing something special and unique here. I know that Alaska is a bucket list location for a lot of people, and so we can offer adventure, and we can offer opportunities in ministry and putting to work what it is they're learning, or putting into work, giving them some practice in the ministry that they feel called to. And it'll bless our church. It'll bless them. It's a win-win situation. I really consider, if you're a ministry leader, especially if you're a pastor, I really think you should consider having interns. I think they're worth the investment. I really do think that they are worth the investment, as long as you lead them well. Now, of course, you can get a dud, and that's okay. Send them home. You get a dud who's not going to take direction, who doesn't do anything, is more of a sap on resources and energy than they are a contributor. Send them home. That's not beyond the realm of what's possible. Likewise, if you were not to keep your commitments or whatever that is, don't be surprised if they go home. But I think that as long as they're led well, interns will be in our church. In our church, I believe interns are going to be an invaluable resource in the years to come. We're going to develop ministers, develop relationships, and develop families that know better how to minister, know what the realities of ministry are, and can take our resources and our methods and such, which aren't perfect, but we're being successful. Our church is growing, and see them translated to other places, and see the kingdom of God continue to grow. So thank you for taking this little break with me from getting everything ready for our next interns. I am a little tired, but I'm feeling rejuvenated after talking about all this, reconnected to the mission, most definitely. And so you guys have a blessed one, and I look forward to our next time chatting on the video. Go ahead and leave a comment. Leave a comment with something maybe I didn't answer. You got a question I didn't answer? Leave a comment. I would love to answer that in text. If there's something you want to weigh in, maybe you had a good experience, maybe there's something you know that I don't know or I didn't address, go ahead and leave that in the comments. You guys have a blessed one. Take care.